I would like to welcome you all to this international Eftersnack or informal get-together after the Forum for Science Communication. I hope the ones of you that have participated enjoyed the event. It was a full day and a webinar, so it's very nice to see all these friendly smiling faces in front of me. I'm Maria Hagardt. I'm an International Relations Communications Officer at VA Public Scienc and also the hub manager for the Falling Walls Sweden hub. The Falling Walls hubs brings together local and regional science engaged science communicators together with international science communicators to share experience, exchange ideas, and find also future collaborations. So that's also what we're going to do today during our discussions. But firstly, some Zoom etiquettes. And I think, Ben, if you share the screen as well. I would like you all to stay muted when you're not speaking, and also try to have the cameras on, but I can understand if you're sitting and if you have any problem with connecting or with your connection, that might also be the problem, that you should maybe turn off your camera. And also we're going to have some time for questions. We're going to listen to two inspiring presentations today. So if you have any questions for those, you can put them in the chat. And also, if you would like to, as I said at the start, when some of you already had joined, that if you would like to rename yourself with your name and your organization and maybe the country you come from, that would also be perfect. And now I would like to invite my fellow colleague and friend, Anna Maria, who's a senior advisor at the Sweden Research Council, to say a few words and maybe give some highlights from today's Forum for Science Communication.
Well, firstly, I want to just say that the Swedish Research Council is very happy to be able to co-organize this Eftersnack together with VA, Public and Science, and with Falling Walls. I thought that I would not do any brief from the main conference. I think you have seen and heard me enough today. And I also think that we are very much excited to learn more and to interact with each other. So I'm really happy that now I can see it's 52 who actually are still with us. So let's start.
Thank you, Anna Maria. And I'll leave the floor to Niklas, actually, who will give us a brief introduction to what is actually Falling Walls Engage and the community. So over to you, Niklas.
Thank you so much, Maria. It's great being here. Thank you for having me, and congratulations for this wonderful forum that you've organized today. Very enlightening sessions. Thank you so much. I am representing the team of Falling Walls Engage. My colleague Milena is with us today as well. You might see her later in a breakout session as well. And yeah, I'm happy to just walk you a couple of minutes through what Falling Walls and Falling Walls Engage is. And if Ben, if you switch to the next slide, actually I will tell you a little bit about where this peculiar name is coming from, Falling Walls. There you see a photo from the fall of the Berlin Wall. On the 20th anniversary of that day, our founders founded Falling Walls, an organization that is bringing together the brightest minds from science, business, and media, and has done so each year ever since. So for the past 11 years, we have brought together the people on that very day, on the 9th of November. And throughout the development of the organization, we have added more and more programs, and one of them being Falling Walls Engage, where each year leading up to the conference, we are organizing a competition, the Falling Walls Engage finale, where we present and showcase the 20 most exciting science engagement and science communication initiatives from all around the world. You will see that on the next slide. It has been most of the events that you've visited and that we've organized. It has been actually in person, of course, taking place in a venue that is now placed in the former death zone where the where the Berlin Wall was standing. Now in the past year, it has shifted to a virtual event. And to bring the spirit of Falling Walls actually to places outside of Berlin and actually connecting the community of science engagers and communicators around the world all year long, we have started to launch Falling Walls Engage Hubs. You see a map on the next slide with the 5 hubs that we have launched. And we're so happy that we have Vach and Maria as partners for the Engage Hub in Sweden. We are launching the 5th one, Australia, actually next week. And I will tell you a little bit about that at the end of this session. To complement that series of hubs, we have also started community-driven events that are more standalone events to really highlight the science communication scenes in particular countries and really deep dive into like how they are practicing science communication, how science is understood in the various contexts. So on the next slide, you will see a few pins of the most recent and upcoming events, the next one being in Mongolia in 2 weeks. So if you like, feel free to browse our website and subscribe to our newsletter to stay up to date with these. But we will also tell you a little bit more about that. And now to wrap up my little presentation, I have also brought a short video that I hope gives you a little bit an idea of what we're doing at Falling Walls Engage and how it actually looks like, all these things that I've just talked about. So I will just switch and I hope you enjoy.
Science and technology have never had so much impact in our lives. And more than ever, we should all get a chance to take part in the conversation.
The public can contribute to research in ways that they and researchers generally can't imagine.
By building these human connections, we do better science engagement. We are more connected. We work together more collaboratively.
At Falling Walls Engage, we support those who break the walls between science and society. People who have found new ways to talk about science and engage communities all around the world.
Science engagement is the process of creating a dialogue around science. It's about making research accessible and relevant.
You've got to tell a good story, you've got to listen, and you've got to learn about what people find interesting in science.
We started in 2018 in the frame of the Falling Walls Conference in Berlin. Since then, we have become a unique global platform for science engagement. Through different formats like international hubs, community gatherings, and our annual pitch competition, we foster international collaboration and co-learning. We put the spotlight on projects that have a real impact.
Our project breaks science communication walls across the African continent.
We can make astronomy accessible to blind people everywhere.
I'm trying to break the wall of cancer education through immersive exhibits.
The network of Falling Walls Engage has grown so much. We've brought together people from all over the world that are connected with science engagement, are doing science engagement projects.
I've met with so many other really, really interesting engagers who have the gift of communicating the beauty of science, which is really about life. It's not just something that happens hidden away in a lab somewhere. Science is really, it's happening around us as we speak.
Through the power of science engagement, we want to tackle global societal challenges. We believe that by increasing trust in science and promoting evidence-based decision-making, we can improve people's lives in the long term.
I suppose that's what we advocate in science engagement. We believe in the power of human connections to make the world a better place.
No idea is too small. No idea is not important. I think science engagement really, sky is the limit right now. Anything can happen.
Wow, yeah, That was the little film that I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for having me, and I hand back over to Maria.
Thank you, Niklas, and thank you for this brief presentation of Falling Walls. And as you say, you can go into the Falling Walls Engage website, and I think we'll put the link also in the chat. But now, as you heard a little bit of us, who we are, we would like to know a little bit about you. So where are you actually joining from? So go to thementi.com and use the code 15772597 and answer that first question, where you're joining from. Maybe we also can display the results. So we see we have Stockholm and Gothenburg in the lead, followed by someone in Brussels and Berlin, of course, and someone in Scotland, and Louisa in Finland. Welcome. It's nice to have also our Nordic neighbors in this. Well, let's just see that you're coming from all over at least the Central European part of the world. And someone here in chat, welcome from Düsseldorf in Germany. And Egypt, that's a bit far away from Stockholm. I think that's the best thing with these online conferences, that you can join from wherever you are. It's very easy. We would have loved also, as we started with, having our Australian friends and our Argentinian friends, but we're in a bit more difficult time zone for them, either early in the morning or late in the evening. I also have another question, a more pandemic question. So if we go to the next question, Ben, and that is, what was the easiest not to do thing not to do during 2020? Was it to do less or no shopping, to work or have school from home, or spend vacation at home, or not to travel abroad? What was the easiest to not to do during 2020? So I can see that doing less or no shopping. I totally agree on that. If you're in lockdown, it's very difficult to do shopping. Well, thank you for all your answers to those questions. Now, before we start and have some more networking and start the discussions, we would like to showcase some inspiring projects that has just recently started here in Sweden. So I will leave the floor to Marianne Loor, who's the communications manager at the KTH Royal Institute of Technology. And she will tell you more about a new citizen science project that she's managing. So over to you, Marianne.
Thank you, Maria. And I hope that you now see my presentation. Is it up there? Good. Well, thank you for inviting me to join this session. It's a really great opportunity. And also I've enjoyed the whole day, the conference before this, because it has many relating topics to the project I'm going to tell you about, Utopian Stories. This is a really, really new project. We had the official launch on 18th of March. Giving you a brief background, we came together from different actors, really organically, and found that this is an important thing to do at this moment in time, when we are having the experience from the pandemic and wanting to see a bright future that's also sustainable. So the Utopian Stories is a large citizen science project where we engage mainly young people, but they can also ask for other age groups to be involved in this project. that is what we hope to, that they will also be co-researchers with us. And what we are trying to do, we have combined researchers from literature, especially then Camilla Bredin-Borg, who's from the University of Gothenburg, with climate research, represented from the Bolin Center for Climate Research at the Stockholm University, and Professor Alistair Skelton. And we collaborate with the Nobel Prize Museum, who have a fantastic educational program. They have a lot of experience of doing citizen science projects and a fantastic network of the teachers in school classes. And then I come in to reinforce this citizen science ideas. And we also have another science communication person from the Bolin Center. So we think we have made this a great constellation, but it's not without challenges. And I'll tell you a little bit about that soon. If we then manage to get funding, that's where we are in the process. We will also add researchers from my institute. I'm from KTH, Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, Sweden, where we have some great experience from visualizations of sustainable projects. And that I think will also be very accessible for the general public to see what kind of patterns will our data develop, what can we see. And we hope to also include people from Finland to make it a Nordic project. So what are we actually trying to do? Well, we're trying to capture how stories of experienced and imagined changes can be used in co-creating a sustainable future. So the questions you just replied to, what didn't you do in 2020? That was the questions that the research from climate research were interested in. Sort of, can we learn what we could not do and maybe understand if we need to do things differently in the future? That will also be a good life. And the next data collection set is that from the literature science and from the humanities, we ask young people to share their future stories. And of course, they get some training into what utopian stories and dystopian stories are to understand we need to make a shift. We have had a long period of having quite many dystopian stories around. So at the moment, we're just really getting started and collecting data. And this will then be into the research phase and then a visualization phase starting next year. And so what are the main things we want to highlight? Well, we wanted to talk about hope because the Fridays for Futures have been a big movement everywhere around the globe, but of course in Sweden with Greta Thunberg. I have a teenager that age. Many share the same experience that they are very worried about the future. They have been forced to see a lot of data about things are going the wrong way. We need to change. But we could also see that there's now sort of a new trend in talking about possibilities, providing a bit of hope. And this is coming both from the arts and from scientists. And I have here some examples from books that are recently published. Under the Sky We Make is written by an American scientist who moved to Lund in Sweden 10 years ago. And this is really a handbook, a guide to facts are not enough. We need also the emotions, not just the brain, we need the heart and the hand. We can fix this, but we need to find the ways of doing it and do it together. This other book, En strimma av hopp in Swedish, is actually from my university at KTH. And it's also trying to show that we can fix this. What we are doing also, of course, is to use the fact that we have the Nobel Prize laureates in literature and how they can inspire and share experiences. And I just added here two such cases. One is Aniara, from a Swedish author. It's a utopian story or dystopian story from many years ago. And Clara and the Sun is a very new book from the Nobel Prize laureate Kazuo Ishiguro, which is interesting in thinking about how we can do things differently. So short about our challenges, we are trying to achieve something that it's not really been done before. It's combining methods from the humanities and natural sciences is interesting. Very many people give us that feedback. They think it's, wow, we would like to see how these stories can then be turned into climate data and then patterns on, can we know what is a good thing to do for the future or what shouldn't we do? But we have a little bit of problems with finding how to share these. They can be sensitive data. So we're now in an ethics trying to prove if this is how we can do it, how we can manage this. And then finally, we have been part of this festival in other sessions as well. The other day we were in the live lab and did a real-time case study with school students. And they got to answer the same questions as you just did on what was easiest to not do in 2020. And I'll show you, because I couldn't do real-time data on the things you answered, but this is what they answered. And I think it is quite true for the general picture. That what didn't you do? I mean, yes, the most effect of what we didn't do is actually going abroad for a vacation. So that is a learning thing. If we want to really have an impact with doing things differently, that is the most effective way of doing it. Staying at home and shopping less is also important, but it has less climate impact if you're looking at the CO2 level. And if you want to know more about this there's a, I don't know if we have shared the URL address in the chat. It's Nobel Prize Museum Utopian Stories. I can share it. But also we have another session on Friday in Swedish, but it's with the two researchers that I mentioned in the beginning and people from the Nobel Prize Museum and also from the Swedish Academy, talking about the importance of literature and narratives and stories. So that is my brief presentation, and I hope you have questions for me either now or in the breakouts.
Thank you, Marianne, for sharing that inspiring citizen science project. I see that we have a question in the chat, but I also have one question for you. That you mentioned that we will open up the project for more participants, and if you're interested, is it possible for other organizations to join and participate in this citizen science project?
We've just started, as I said, so we're actually running sort of pilots in Sweden with a few school classes at the moment, and waiting for this ethics permit just to know that everything's fine. But then we'll try to make it really international. So I'd say stay tuned and get in contact, and we will try to engage more.
Perfect. We'll definitely let all of you know when this is up for international collaboration. And the question in the chat was, will the utopian stories be evaluated from the perspective of individual learning outcome for the co-researcher?
Yes. We will have to make it anonymous. That is part of this GDPR and ethics. So we will look for the patterns, and we have to aggregate it and make it so that you cannot identify your own contribution, but you will most likely see how you contributed. And there's a plan to, we'll show this in visualization projects and exhibitions coming up next year. So we already have a plan for getting back to everybody who's been part of the data collection and the storytelling.
Thank you, Marianne. Do you have any other question coming in to Marianne? Or we can also take that during the discussions in the breakout rooms. Thank you again. I will then leave the floor to Cissi Askwall, who is the Secretary General of VA Public Scienc, and she will tell us a bit about an EU project that we're involved in, which is called Rethink.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm just want to share my screen to be able to show you a few slides about Rethink. Yes, so Rethink is a European project where VA, our organization in Sweden, is one out of 10 partners, and we want to really integrate theory and practice to try to develop some best practices for science communication and think about the future for science communication. And at the core of this project are Rethinker spaces. Was that? So it's a name for getting people together in a test bed or a learning hub. We run one of those in Sweden with science engagers, and there are 6 more, so in 7 different countries, we are running those Rethinker spaces, where we gather once every 6 months to discuss different aspects of science communication and how it can evolve for the future. And what I would like specifically to highlight is a rather small investigation we did earlier this year about how citizens do understand science. And we were looking for some kind of interesting topic. So we were thinking about climate change, but then, as you know, the pandemic hit us all. So of course we chose the pandemic instead. And we made qualitative interviews with Europeans, 81 interviews, to try to find out how people understand scientific developments and those challenges we are all facing now during the pandemic. And we wanted to find these micro moments when you realize something. So in the beginning of a pandemic, when we were all trying to find out what was happening now and how should I adapt and how should I, what could I feel, what could I do to protect myself and my loved ones. So we asked people specifically about that. For instance, there was an interview with a person who was having an anniversary. So she wanted to have a big party and she thought that this must not be so bad. So she sent out a lot of invitations, and then suddenly it struck her that not only that people declined her invitation, but also that they told her that she shouldn't really not organizing any parties at this time, and they would definitely not be part of it. So what we did, we sent all those interviews to the coordinator of this project, which is the Free University of Amsterdam. And I would show you here the results. So how do people make sense of science? So it's a mixed picture, of course. The foundation is where people are in the beginning. I mean, are you directly affected? Maybe you're in a risk group, or you work within healthcare. So you have, of course, a personal situation that affects how you make sense of the science you get in touch with relating to the pandemic or really relating to any scientific matter. And then there's a lot of sources of confusion. We've been talking a lot about the infodemic coming together with the pandemic. That's so many sources of information, and they could be contradictory information, and it's difficult to make sense of what's important and who should I listen to and so on. And also, if the authorities tell you that you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't organize parties, etc., but you realize that other people, they don't really follow those restrictions or recommendations, so they are conflicting. What should I do what I like to do, or should I do like other people do? And if people act differently, so probably it's the peers, your family members, people that are close to you that will affect you the most. Then to overcome them, showing one more, overcoming confusion, you try to go to what you thought from the very beginning. So what are your word views? What are your beliefs from the beginning? Often you fall back on that to make sense of this conflicting information. And also you tend to listen more to what kind of information that are overwhelming you, like the news media, that you, rather than seeking actively advice from different sources, you get a lot of messages, because often it was specifically news media, that in the end very much affected what people thought and how they made sense of this. So as a conclusion, it's the ideas you have, the needs you have, the experiences you have already, but then also, of course, your personal situation, how you feel, and the word views you have from the very beginning. All these aspects will inform you quite heavily in how you make sense of science. And I would invite you all to reflect on this together with me, how this will affect and influence our work as Science Engages, what I just told you about the results of this small study. Thank you.
Thank you, Cissi. And which leads us up to exactly that we're going to do some reflection, discussions and networking. And we have actually chosen a couple of topics for you already. So I will share my screen and let's see now. And these are the topics. So while my tech wizard Ben is setting up the breakout rooms, you can think about if you would like to continue discussing the Reimagining International SciComm collaboration, what do you need? And that will be hosted by Niklas and me. How to organize digital SciComm events, tips and tricks, if you have any things you want to share, or if you want to do some knowledge exchange on that. And then, as Cissi just invited you to, is rethinking science engagement in a digital world. So in a minute or so, my colleague Ben will open up the breakout rooms, and then you will be able to choose the breakout room yourself. If you have any trouble in choosing, doing that technically, not mentally, you can write in the chat and we will make sure that you will be redirected to the right, or the breakout room of your choice. Hello everyone, I think you're all safely back. My Ben, the tech wizard, has safely brought you back from the different online meeting rooms, breakout rooms. I hope you had fruitful discussions. I think it's very nice to see one another after a long day of webinar meetings and Zoom meetings before that. We had prepared a Miro board to collect and harvest your inputs. We didn't use it in our groups, but I will send that out, the link out, if you want to add any details on that. And now I would just like to briefly give the floor to Niklas, because he's going to talk a little bit of the forthcoming Falling Walls activities. It's just one of them. So I give and share the screen with you, Niklas.
Thank you so much, Maria. So actually what I forgot to mention earlier as well, and which I wanted to quickly highlight, I have been mentioning the Falling Walls Engage finale in November, actually this year taking place on the 7th. And we've just launched 2 weeks back, I think, our new call for applications. So if you are, or if you know of a science engagement initiative, can be from anywhere in the world, but that you think is so exciting that we should have it on the stage in Berlin. Right now, Falling Walls is planning to be a physical event in November. And so we invite those 20 science engagers to Berlin. My colleague Milena is sharing the link right now in the chat. And then there's another opportunity where we would like you to invite you to join next week our launch of the Australia Hub is taking place virtually, and the deadline for registration is closing. The applications are closing tomorrow, actually. So Ben, if you could share just the slide to just give you an idea of how it looks like and our topic. So we will be focusing on different arts-based approaches to science communication to address the challenges that we're facing. And among this variety of approaches that we will actually highlight, we will focus on one in particular, and that is science theater. So this community workshop will prepare actually a follow-up event, which is called, Ben, you can share the following slide. Yeah, exactly. And it's called What If Scientists Ruled the World? That is the name of a forum theater production that we're organizing on May 8th. And now I would like to close by showing you a short video and greetings from our hub manager and Maria's colleague in Australia. And also I will actually this time share the computer sound as well to give you a better experience. So enjoy.
G'day, I'm Paul Richards, Director of Communications and Outreach at the Australian Academy of Science. I'm also the manager of the soon-to-launch Falling Walls Engage Hub Australia. It's so exciting and inspiring to be part of this global community of creative professionals, engaging the world with science. I'd like to invite you to be part of our online event next week, Revisualising Science, Arts-Based Approaches to Wicked Problems. This workshop will be happening on April the 22nd at 11 AM Central European Time. We'll use the topics discussed here to inform a live public performance of forum theatre called What If Scientists Ruled the World? On May the 8th, science communicators will interact live with the audience to address some of the most wicked problems facing us today. I hope you can join us, and I look forward to meeting you as we build the Falling Walls movement together.
Yeah, there were words from Paul, our Australian hub manager, and now I give back to Maria. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Niklas, and we send a warm thank you to Paul. It was a little bit too late for him to participate in this meeting, so we're happy to have him online or pre-recorded. So by this, I also want to invite you all to stay in touch. Ben, maybe if you could share the last slide where we have also the Falling Walls web address. So if you want to stay in touch with us, the Sweden Hub, or with any of the other hubs situated more locally to you, near you, you can go into the fallingwalls.com website, and you can also send us an email, and we'll let you know. And then also know that you ticked in the box, many of you at least, that you would like to stay in touch. So we'll definitely keep you in touch with what's happening within the Falling Walls Engage community. And as Niklas said, please have a look at the calls for the Berlin Science Festival and the Falling Walls Engage Prize. I think that's a major opportunity to showcase all the good things that you're doing out there. So with that, I say farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu, hej då, från Sverige, from Sweden, and see you in Australia next week, down under. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot for the organization. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.